I'm Angel True with True Living Synergy Coaching.
And I am Mindy Kniss with Kniss Integrative Coaching. We're here today to talk about consciousness, creativity, action, and results, which come together for the heart of purpose.
And what the heart of purpose is the conversation with coaches on your work, your spirit, and your life.
What we're going to do is a monthly video series where we're taking your questions about a particular topic.
This month we're going to be talking about the subject of goals.
All right. Christine asks, how many goals should I start with?
Well, that's a really good question, I think. When I talk to my clients about setting goals, I usually give them a benchmark of 3 to 5 questions. What I find is, and the reason I do the 3 to 5 is it's about how many things we can pay attention to at one time.
Definitely.
So the human consciousness can only focus on about 5 things simultaneously at a maximum. Some people get up to about 7. 3 tends to be about the sweet spot. So that's usually what I tell my clients is we'll set 3 to 5. Most of the time they hit 3 and they're like, that's all I can handle right now.
Right? Yeah, I think 3 is a great number as well. I tend to say, when it gets down to it, start with 1. Because really we can only focus on one thing at a time. Overall we can have like these 3 bigger concepts or 3 things that we're kind of working toward. But ultimately 1 is going to be great. And if you accomplish 1, it's going to be way better than having 10 things that none of them really get accomplished. So if you can focus on one thing, 3 is also great, 3 things, or even to prioritize and say, oh, I'm going to do this one first or right now.
Right. I think that's really important to know is what are they talking about, first of all? What is it we're even putting in perspective? Are we just focusing on building a business? Are we doing some personal growth work? Are we working on spirituality? What is it that we're bringing in? Because a lot of people, of all the things that we might talk about, there's one area that they really need to focus on. So maybe it's just 1 or 2 things in that area, or maybe we need 1 from each of these subjects we're talking about. So I think that's an important element as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, to answer your question, Christine, go for 3. 3 sounds great.
So, Dan Mays asks, can you give me some suggestions for managing my time in order to accomplish my goals?
Ooh, time management. One of my favorite topics. Something that I always say, just to get started with this conversation, is that we never manage time. Time exists outside of us completely, and really, in some esoteric ideas, time doesn't even exist. So what are we really talking about? What we're talking about is managing our energy within a certain amount of time. This hour, this minute,
Right.
This day, whatever. So it's not about managing time, it's about managing us.
And that's a really good point. What's coming up for me is I think I take a little more of an active approach, and I tell people, put a schedule together, figure out what distracts you, figure out what it is you want to be focusing on. And I always like to tell people to make sure that they're staying engaged with whatever the topic is. And so what I notice is people who are not managing their time well, often there's something that's getting in the way. So it's not so much about managing the time, so much as exactly what is it that's not working for you on this subject, or what is it that have you not focused on exactly the right thing. So that's another thing that I like to look at. But schedules work really well. Prioritization, especially people who are self-employed, have really random schedules. They might be working at 3 o'clock in the morning, or sleep until 1 o'clock in the afternoon, who knows, or they just have appointments all over the place, so it can be challenging to bounce between them.
Yeah,
So,
a really good way to look at that is to kind of put similar things together. Let's say you have a number of client appointments, you also have some marketing that you need to do, you also have, visits and errands out there in the world. And something that's helpful is to kind of condense the things that are alike together. Because then what you can do is give yourself a longer chunk of time to really get things done. It's not about, oh, I got to run here and call this person and do that and the other thing. It's like, okay, I'm going to do all my errands in this chunk of time, and then I'm going to see clients specifically on this date and time, or, make calls during this amount of time. So compiling the things that are alike is also helpful.
yeah. There you go, Dan. There's a few suggestions. Hopefully that helps.
Okay, here is another question from Brian. he says, how do I set goals that are actually attainable yet still challenging enough to instigate change? And, as a follow-up, how do I set up an environment to ensure follow-through? Great question, Brian.
Yeah, so how do you set challenging goals? Well, I think the first thing I want to think about when I talk about challenge is what is it you actually want to accomplish? What are you good at? What's working for you? Challenge is such a vague and relative term. So that's usually where I would start with someone is, well, what's challenging you right now? What do you want to accomplish?
That's
And
a
I
great
know,
point, too, just to say, because one thing that's challenging to you could be totally different to somebody else. It might be really easy or even harder, so that's a great way to start.
right. And one of the things I tell people when I'm working with them is what seems challenging right now and what seems challenging a month from now can be entirely different. I don't know if you have this experience, but
Yes.
when I'm working with clients, I often give them a period of time to just clear the air a little bit before we even try and set goals, because I know that from experience when we set goals up front, what seems like a challenging goal, a month later then I'd be like, okay, well I accomplished that, now what? Like, well, that was just clearing the air. So that's, Brian, the question you're asking is how do I set goals that are challenging? And my answer is you need to figure out what you want to accomplish, and then you need to figure out how much time that's actually going to take you. And I always ask people to think big. Think
Absolutely.
big, act small.
Yeah, I mean, it's the details that make up any of these things that we are going to accomplish. It's the details of what we're doing every single day. And as far as the, idea about setting up an environment to kind of instigate or allow, I would call it, the ability that you have to complete that goal is really just setting up a space that you can focus. I think sometimes in somebody's office, it's great if they have a reminder, whether it's a written reminder or it's a picture of something that they're hoping to achieve or to manifest or to do. Keep that focus on that, because it's only through maintaining that focus is it going to get done.
Right. I'm a big advocate of little reminder notes. My clients have them
Yes.
posted all around their lives. What I like to do is I say, what's the really important fundamental shift you're seeking to make? Put it on a little sticky note. Put it on your bathroom mirror, or your car mirror, or in your wallet, wherever it is that you're going to see it, or all of the above. Yeah, wherever it is that you're going to see it. And use that as a constant reminder. So the environment question is really about how do I keep myself remembering that this is what I'm doing. And this is what the environment is all about. It's not your external environment, it's that internal environment of I'm focused, I'm focused, I'm focused.
Right, and I think there is something to be said too for that external environment. It's really challenging if you have, let's say you sit down at your desk and it's just a mess with crazy piles over here and things to do over there. The cleaner and clearer you can create your space to be, that absolutely helps in the flow of energy, for creativity and just to accomplish things. So it's both. It's inside and external to say, what does this look like out here? Am I coming into this mess, or am I coming into a place that is neat and organized, which allows me to kind of think clearly?